This is Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
Good evening everyone and welcome to Southern Cross News. First tonight we continue with the growing unrest within the Tasmanian football community following speculation the TSL could be scrapped at the end of the year. Our sports reporter Tom Cooper has been covering this story over the past 24 hours and joins us now live. Good evening, Tom. What's the latest?
Good evening, Joe. Well, it's been the big talking point over the past 24 hours following last night's report, and the uncertainty surrounding the future of Tasmanian football has now prompted the TSL's strongest club to come out firing. North Launceston President Thane Brady is the first club representative to properly address the rumours, and he's calling on the state government to step in. They're the heart and soul of the statewide competition, but TSL clubs are still being kept in the dark about their future.
People are very worried. There's a huge amount of investment that's gone into the TSL programs since it commenced in 2009.
With a Melbourne-based committee pulling all the strings, the North Launceston president was keen to remind AFL House just who'll be the most affected by its decisions.
The AFL steering committee should therefore only make recommendations which are then sent to a steering committee that the Tasmanian government heads up, and it involves Tasmanians that can make decisions for the future of Tasmania.
But when asked about the possibility of stepping in, the state government seemed content watching on from the sidelines.
Well, look, there's a review underway at the moment, and it's a review that's long overdue, to be frank. There are obviously some challenges, but we'll allow that review to take its course.
If the TSL is put on the scrap heap, it remains uncertain what a replacement model would look like. So for now, clubs are left stewing on what the potential impact of such a decision would have.
It would be horrific for us if, effectively, we have nowhere to play. Many players would have no other reason to stay here and would have to further those opportunities on the mainland.
AFL CEO Gillon McLachlan was set to return to the state tomorrow to make further announcements. Instead, he's postponed the visit indefinitely. So Tasmania's proud football community will have to wait until June 30 to learn its fate, with the AFL remaining tight-lipped.
Ultimately, the AFL will make decisions that's best for the AFL and not necessarily best for Tasmania. We have built something that is worth saving.
Tom Cooper, Southern Cross News.
The government is under pressure to target the housing crisis in the upcoming state budget. Public housing wait times have blown out in the last year and more than 3,000 families are caught in the backlog.
Handing over the keys to a new public housing property.
Thank you. Well done.
This Warrane unit is the first of 78 two-bedroom units coming online over the next few months.
Our housing shortage needs to be fixed by building more houses for Tasmanians, and here today we're presenting and looking through the latest new build.
Properties like this are in desperate demand, with around 3,400 families currently in need of public housing. Average wait times for priority applicants have blown out from 43 weeks last year to 62 weeks in February.
Certainly that's increased a little bit. That does reflect the fact that less people are moving out of social housing and public housing.
For short-term measures, the government is luring landlords to take on low-income tenants with up to $13,000 incentives, and $500,000 is going towards emergency housing, with accommodation options including shelters, motels and hotels.
Next week we're bringing some new stock online, just some cabin accommodation that we found to bring in as a more longer term option. But again, one of the things we've got to do is not just have one size fits all.
The opposition says housing needs to be a priority in the upcoming budget.
The government has a real opportunity during the budget to show that it's serious about addressing this crisis with a significant injection of funds.
Over the next 5 years, we're going to deliver about another 1,800 houses like this as part of our extended Affordable Housing Action Plan.
An action plan, but an immediate need for some. Michael Breen, Southern Cross News.
A year and a half after a Tasmanian father was killed in a crash on the Midland Highway near Perth just days before Christmas, a court has heard evidence of what allegedly happened. Our reporter Monica Dadson has the details.
The preliminary proceeding here in the Launceston Magistrates Court has heard from 7 witnesses about the December 2016 fatal crash on the Midland Highway. This is the wreckage emergency crews were confronted with. The male driver of this van died at the scene. His wife and 4 children also sustained injuries. The driver of the Ford Wynyard man, Dwayne Albert Cashman, has since pleaded not guilty to manslaughter and 2 counts of causing grievous bodily harm by dangerous driving. Today, the pre-trial heard evidence from a woman who was one of the first on the crash scene. She told the court she went to assist Mr Cashman, who was near his car and bleeding from a cut on his head. From what I can recall, he said, "It's my fault. I reached down for another CD. I hit the gravel. It's my fault." He said multiple times he was sorry and wanted to know if the other people in the other vehicle were okay. Mrs Beckett said she could smell alcohol during her conversation, but agreed the way Mr Cashman kept repeating himself and saying he was sorry could have been because of a head injury rather than intoxication. The court heard the road conditions on the day of the incident were good. The preliminary trial has now concluded and the case will return to the Supreme Court on the 12th of June. Mr Cashman has been bailed to appear on that day.
Fire investigators haven't been able to determine the cause of a massive fire at a Lindisfarne Marina last Friday. Crews refloated a motor cruiser that sank during the blaze, investigators pinning the ignition point to the cabin adjacent to the engine room. But due to fire and water damage, the exact cause hasn't been confirmed.
There's nothing that gives us any indication through statements from the owner. There's no indicators there that indicate that it could have been a deliberately lit fire.
The damage bill has been revised up to $1.2 million. With the Australian government moving to decentralise its major departments to regional areas, the state government has revealed its plan to compete for more public service roles. The Treasurer today saying Tasmania has a strong case to be considered for job relocation due to the lifestyle it offers.
There's no reason why back office tax matters couldn't be considered here in Tasmania. Already in Burnie we have a small footprint, but we'd like to engage across a range of agencies and encourage the federal government to ensure that Tasmania gets its fair share.
Labor's federal member for Bass, Ross Hart, welcomes the move but says it's insulting to those who've already lost their jobs.
It's positive that the Liberals recognise that this is necessary, but when they've been responsible for the loss of 771 jobs since 2013 in the public service here in Tasmania, they're also proposing the loss of 100 jobs from visa processing in Hobart.
The state government hopes its bid will be successful in securing more than 100 public service jobs, with the majority to be located in northern Tasmania. Tasmania's largest celebration of young people has kicked off today with live music at a pop-up launch in Hobart. Youth Week Tasmania will be hosting various events around the state to give young people in the community a voice.
So Youth Week Tasmania provides a platform for young people to raise issues of concern, to share their ideas and views and to celebrate being a young person in Tasmania.
I just thought it would be a great opportunity, and especially because I'm a young person in Hobart and I really want to just bring together other youth and just have a great time.
Youth Week will run until next Sunday. Today is Friday the 13th, and for anyone considering buying a cat or kitten, now could be the time. RSPCA centres across the state and Hobart's 10 Lives Cat Centre are running a campaign in a bid to reduce the superstition surrounding the animal.
It is really difficult to adopt black cats compared to other colours, and that obviously is tied into a bit of superstition. What we suggest is that if you want to really get over your superstition about black cats is to have one of your own to overthrow the bad luck and have your own good luck.
Black cats are currently the animal least likely to be adopted from shelters. The prices of desexed black cats and kittens will be reduced at all RSPCA centres until 4 o'clock tomorrow. A new campaign has been launched to help stamp out discrimination against people with vision impairments. It aims to educate businesses and the community about guide dogs, which are a vital lifeline for some Tasmanians.
For people like Sarah, the simple act of getting a coffee can be more difficult. She has a vision impairment and relies on a guide dog to help get around.
I love food, I love bars and I love cafes, and having a guide dog allows me to go to all those venues, and on occasion there has been places that have questioned me accessing the venue.
She's not alone. 1 in 3 guide dog handlers experience discrimination at restaurants and cafes. A new campaign aims to tackle this issue by putting up posters and stickers and working with local businesses.
We're hoping that by working together we can make more people in the hospitality industry aware of the laws associated with guide dog access.
The THA's role is to make sure that we get that out to operators, that they understand the laws and legislation, and they make sure that they let those people in. So we'll play the role that we need to do to help the guide dogs out as best we can.
It is an offence to refuse a person entry with a guide dog in a public place, but discrimination still occurs.
I think discrimination is really, really hard, and it's really upsetting. It's like someone questioning you and who you are and your right to go into a place.
The campaign will run for the next 12 months. Ruby Kamain, Southern Cross News.
Now let's take a look at the day's business and finance news with thanks to Tasplan, your local super fund. The Australian share market has closed higher, following on from overnight Wall Street gains as US-Russia tensions over Syria eased slightly and investors looked for bargains in healthcare and resources. The ASX 200 index has risen by 13.6 points. A short time ago, the Australian dollar was trading at 77.91 US cents and 105.44 New Zealand cents.
North Melbourne and Carlton have arrived in the state ahead of tomorrow night's Blunston Arena clash, with the Blues holding an open training session for fans at the grounds this afternoon. The Kangaroos will be looking for their second win of the season at their home away from homes, while Carlton still remain winless on the bottom of the ladder after 3 rounds.
Some phases of play that we've been reasonably happy with over the last few weeks, but also some phases of play we've had to work on to improve, and we're looking to improve them tomorrow night.
The match begins at 7:30 tomorrow night. To the TSL now, and North Hobart coach Richard Robinson insists the morale of his young side hasn't been quashed just yet, despite a shocking start to the season. The D's take on Clarence at home tomorrow, with the Roos hoping to build momentum ahead of a tough month.
It was a horror day for the D's at Windsor Park last weekend, with the young side managing just 1 point after half-time as the Blues ran rampant.
It was tough. I mean, I coached from the bench in the last quarter, and there was times where you just wanted to go and put your arm around some of them because physically they're not quite up to being senior footballers yet.
Despite the 131-point loss, Robinson says he won't be making changes ahead of this weekend's clash with the Roos.
I've got to stick to the current group, so there's no point bringing guys in for one game and then sending them back to D-Leagues.
With many predicting the hapless D's will go the entire season without a win, the coach is looking forward to proving the doubters wrong.
We'll get better as the year goes on. I don't think the general public understands how much talent we have in our current group from the 18s to the 16s.
It probably doesn't matter how much talent they have, it's just that their bodies aren't ready to play probably top-line TSL footy yet.
Coming off a round 2 bye following their win over Lauderdale, Webley and the Roos are still working out just where they stand in the TSL pecking order, a question set to be well and truly answered in the coming rounds.
We've got a big month ahead. We've got North Launceston, the Tigers and then Glenorchy, so we need to make sure that off the bye and North Hobart that we play really well this weekend.
To basketball, and the Launceston Tornadoes and Hobart Chargers are preparing to go head-to-head for the Mitchell Greenwood Trophy this Saturday night. It will be the first time the two teams have met since Andre Greenwood passed away from cancer last year.
Last night it got a bit emotional. We started talking about the importance of the game, and obviously we know Hobart is going to be really eager. They have Josie in the team, which was Andre's daughter, but we're eager as well. We lost last year, so it's really important that we go in fighting as well.
It's fabulous exposure for breast cancer and support. BCNA offers support to women and men who have breast cancer. Men get breast cancer because they do have breasts. So we across the board, and to have a public game like this available and everybody be in pink is a wonderful thing.
The game will also raise money for Breast Cancer Network Australia, with play getting underway at 6:30 p.m. Following up and down starts to their NPL seasons, competition heavyweights South Hobart and Devonport will get a true indication of where they're at when the sides meet at Darcy Street tomorrow. Both clubs sit 5 points adrift of ladder leader Hobart Zebras after managing just 1 win from 3 matches so far.
They're a very good team, well coached, well organised, and they've got some tremendous flair in the team as well. And as we all know, Braden Mann, the top striker in the competition.
In the weekend's other matchups, the Rangers take on Clarence in Launceston. The Zebras will look to continue their dream start to the season against Kingborough, and Olympia will start favourites against Launceston City at Warrior Park on Sunday.
Good evening. Well, the weekend's approaching and so is the big game between North Melbourne and Carlton at Blunston Arena tomorrow night. It's going to be a bigger clash than my tie and jacket combo this evening, but you just can't get good help these days. Hobart, Campania, Friendly Beaches and Fingal the highest today with 20. Launceston and Devonport 17. Burnie a top of 18 degrees. The clouds started to build up today ahead of a cold front. Just a few light showers over the west and northwest. St Helens, Grove, Ouse and the Islands 19. Smithton, Low Head and Strawn 17. Lyowini slumped into negative territory before reaching 15 this afternoon. Now, the low cloud increased over the north and west of the state today, as I previously mentioned, and as we look at the bigger picture, we'll know why. It's all due to the pair of cold fronts set to cross the state over the weekend with active thunderstorms. A very cold, unstable air mass is gathering behind the fronts, while further north, most of the continent was cloud-free. Tomorrow, we'll be between those fronts as we wait for the second to cross. The high west of WA starts to build and extend over the bight. Winds turning north to northwesterly, increasing to 20 to 30 knots, but up to 40 knots over northern waters and to 35 knots over the west. A gale warning for all coastal waters tomorrow, a strong wind warning for southeast inshore waters, a small craft wind alert for the lakes, and a warning to sheep graziers too for most districts. Saturday for Hobart. Rain at times, becoming windy, a top of 18 degrees. 14 the top for Medina and Oatlands with rain and wind on the way. For Launceston, rain and wind, 16 the top, 16 also for Devonport and a top of 8 degrees for Lyowini. For Burnie tomorrow, rain and very windy, 14 the maximum and just 14 as well for Strawn and Marrawar with that same forecast. And in the east, rain at times, 17 for St Helens, Swansea and Orford, 18 degrees. Partly cloudy over the east on Sunday with showers for the rest of the state. Snow to 700 metres. Similar weather for Monday with fresh to strong southwest to westerlies and fine on Tuesday with showers over the west and south easing during the evening. A sunny 25 in Perth tomorrow. A windy showery day in Adelaide and Melbourne. Early storms for Canberra along with Sydney and Brisbane and a storm later in the day for Darwin. Partly cloudy around the state at the moment, 15 in Hobart, Launceston 13 degrees and currently 15 in Devonport. Kangaroos tomorrow night, Joe. But before that big game, we've got Winks going for 25 wins to equal Black Caviar's record. If you're having a bet tomorrow, please, but do it responsibly, Joe, please.
I do everything responsibly. That's me, Miss Responsibility. Thank you, Merv. That's all from the team for now. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.